Thank you all. Speak for first time over the year. Krishna, is it possible to realize
what time do we end? Okay. And on Sunday, do you chant Hare Krishna, Jai Radha Madhava, or should I just start the class because you just had a kirtan, or how do you? Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Gopi Janava Gopi We're looking at the main practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. To always be in conscious, to always be conscious, to always be aware of the divine. One could say legitimately that such is the essence of perfection in all spiritual practices. To have one's state of consciousness, one's state of being, one's mind, one's heart, everything always aligned and aware of and acting in sync with and acting in harmony with spiritual reality. And the ultimate explanation, description of spiritual reality as given in the Vedic sacred literatures is called Bhagavan Krishna, the person Krishna. When beginning this process of Bhakti Yoga, the great Acharya, previous saint who lived some hundreds of years ago and who codified the practice of bhakti, he's Rupa Goswami. He said the essence of the practice of bhakti is to always think of Krishna and never forget him. Now, one other Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commented that for beginners, if you say, think of Krishna 24 hours a day, they'll immediately fail and they'll get discouraged. He said, so at least you make a time of the day when you think of Krishna. Okay, we're going to have this time when we're chanting, meditating, studying, at least for that time we're going to think of Krishna. But the idea is that we should be in divine consciousness all of the time, at every moment. Now, theoretically, that shouldn't be that difficult because the universe is the body of God and everything here should be a stimulus, an impetus, in Sanskrit called an udipan, to remind us of Krishna. But how to do this is very nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavad Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, with descriptions of specific ways in which we can connect with Krishna in our daily. Because our tendency in our daily life, like it took quite a while to get the computer on Wi-Fi here. It was a big deal. So we were focused on that. That was where our attention was. How to get the computer on Wi-Fi, how to get in the right password, how to do it quickly. The class is starting at 11:30 and now it's 11:23 and it's 11:24 and how are we going to? And this is the kind of thing our lives tend to be taken up with, isn't it? I have this appointment, I have this meeting, I have to do this shopping, I have to have this business thing, I have to do this with the kids, I have to do this with my wife, husband, and I have to fill out this form, and I have this other appointment. And isn't it that our lives tend to be like that? And we say, well, I guess I can think about Krishna when I'm sitting down. Then he's gone. So the sacred literature, like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they give us a way to take what we're already thinking about, what we're already absorbed in, what our thoughts, our feelings, our desires, our sensory input are already absorbed in, and reveal that what we're already absorbed in already is divine. To become aware that everything I'm thinking, feeling, willing, doing is divine. I just have to see it. And we call this sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means practice. Or Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 12:9, abhyas yoga. Abhyas means repetition. So at first we're so accustomed to just, that's a fan. It's moving the air a little bit. And that's it. Am I hot? Am I cold? And we stop there. So we practice a switch. Srila Prabhupada says material consciousness and spiritual consciousness is hardly any different at all. I see it like if you have two parallel lines and you move one line 1 millimeter, you're in a different place. Okay, you ready? All right. So first, I would like us to do a little introspective exercise. Oh, there we go. Now, if I were back home doing this thing, then my daughter got me this fancy ring light so that I still look only 40. All right. So I'd like to first do a little exercise. So it's about, what, 11:43. I'd like us to mentally go backwards through our day to the time we woke up in like half an hour intervals. What was I thinking about? Okay, so let's just do this for a minute. First, in the last half an hour, what was I thinking about? Half an hour before that, half an hour before that. Going backwards, till I woke up this morning, what was I thinking about? All right. So we were thinking about food anytime today? Okay, or maybe something about money. Did we think about some relationship we have with somebody? Maybe we thought about some decision that we're trying to make. Did we think about someone we know who's going through some sort of difficulty that we were worried about? And did we think about Krishna? We can kind of, this little introspective exercise is nice. So what percentage of my time was I absorbed in thinking about Krishna? And sometimes our mind might seem like this. So we're going to go through a number of different ways in which we can see Krishna in everything. There's a saying by Srila Prabhupada in his purport to 18:9 in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, a man working in Krishna consciousness in a factory does not associate himself with the work of the factory, nor with the workers of the factory. He simply works for Krishna. And when he gives up the results for Krishna, he is acting transcendent. So here Srila Prabhupada is talking about working in a factory, but being absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And one of my favorite quotes from Srila Prabhupada in Purport to Gita 12:2. He said, sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or reads books about Krishna. Sometimes he cooks prasadam or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna. Or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. Such activities are in full samadhi. Such activities are in full samadhi. So when we think about samadhi, what do we think about? You know, if you're familiar with the scriptures, you might think about in the Bhagavatam, Shamakrishi's in Samadhi. Many of you may know that story. He's in Samadhi, and so when the emperor comes and asks him for water, he doesn't hear the emperor. Because before you go into Samadhi, there's a stage called Pratyajara, where you withdraw your senses from the sense objects. Something like when we're in deep sleep, we don't hear anything, we don't feel anything. So before going into Samadhi, you first lose awareness of the sensory world. How you can go to the marketplace to buy something for Krishna in Samadhi. It'd be very dangerous. How you gonna cook? I don't want to cook in the kitchen. If you're in Samadhi, you're gonna burn down the temple. So what does Prabhupada mean? That in Bhakti Yoga, we're in Samadhi. When we go to the marketplace to buy something for Krishna. So there's basically 4 different types of yoga. These can also be combined. There's Bhakti, Gyan, Karma, and Dhyan Yoga. Karma Yoga is doing activities not for the purpose of enjoying them, but doing activities for the purpose of enlightenment. Gyan Yoga, and Karma Yoga is often propounded by various religions. At the present time, Gyan Yoga is becoming extremely popular at the present time, making some intellectual adjustment so that you become detached from the world. Generally, some relation to Buddhism, but there's many different systems that are becoming extremely popular. Millions and millions of people practicing, where you become detached from happiness, distress, fame, pain, pleasure, and pain, and you just stay established in the self. And then Dhyan Yoga, which is a mechanical meditative process, also become very popular and also many times associated in the Western world with Buddhism, where people again just try to make their mind still. So each of these processes have a different definition of samadhi and a different way to achieve it. So as we were saying in Bhakti Yoga, the main way, in Karma Yoga, we'll start with that, we'll do Bhakti next. In Karma Yoga, the main way you achieve samadhi is by detached work. You do work, but you're detached from the result. You basically live in the moment, very present moment. Again, this has become a very popular thing. Present moment awareness, right? Different names for this sort of thing, where you're not concerned with anything, any results you're trying to get, or any problems from the past. You're very present with what you're doing right now, and you're dedicating everything for your salvation. And Krishna explains very nicely that at the end of such renunciation, one achieves peace. At the end of giving up this attachment to I'm the doer and the enjoyer, you achieve peace. The kind of samadhi the karma yogi achieves is often a realization that they are a cell in the universal body. And this has also become very popular, talking about the divine as the universe, yes? In many spiritual or quasi-spiritual or pseudo-spiritual, wherever they are, these groups, they'll talk about the Lord as the universe, which is true. The universe is the body of the Lord. And we are a cell in the body of the Lord. And sometimes in Karma Yoga, they want samadhi that you just feel at one with the Lord as light, as energy, as existence, as Brahman, we call it Sanskrit. All right, the Dhyan Yoga we mentioned briefly, which has also become very popular at the present time, where you look at your thoughts and say, is that an absolutely true thought? Should I believe my mind? If I don't believe my mind, how do I feel? Well, I feel very happy if I don't believe my mind. And you learn to ignore the thoughts of the mind. You learn to observe the emotions and thoughts going without identifying them. Now, these techniques of Karma Yoga and Dhyan Yoga are also part of Bhakti, but they're done a little differently. And that's their method for achieving samadhi. And the samadhi you achieve in Dhyan Yoga is Brahman realization, understanding just the Lord as the light, the existence, the peace. Then in Dhyan Yoga, you work mechanically. You breathe a certain way, you sit a certain way. You also have to live a particular pious life. You detach yourself from society. You start moving the airs in the body, often through the chakras. Sometimes people try to awaken the kundalini. Please don't do that. That's extremely dangerous for people. One of my friends who's familiar with these things says that at the present time, having people try to awaken their kundalini is like giving a chainsaw to a 2-year-old. But that try to engage these kinds of processes, and the kind of samadhi these people achieve is in touch with the what's called the Paramatma, the super soul, the super self. They understand the all-knowing witness and friend of the universe. So in Bhakti Yoga, we certainly use aspects of Karma Yoga. We dedicate all our actions to the person, Krishna. We do have philosophical detachment as part of the limbs of Bhakti, and we certainly meditate on Krishna in Bhakti. But our main means of achieving samadhi is something that we all know how to do, and we all do all the time, probably every day. We absorb ourselves in someone that we love, or someone with whom we have a strong emotional connection, or something, or some activity. We all do this. Like some of you sitting here may physically be here, but maybe you're not actually here. Like I know on Zoom, some people, they turn off their video and they're probably actually in another room on a phone call. But even some of you are actually here, mentally you may not be here. Maybe you have some email you just got that's threatening your job. And so all you're thinking is, how am I going to respond? What am I going to write? If I write this, my boss said this, my other coworkers. Or maybe you got in a fight with your significant other this morning about something, and you're thinking, what should I do? Should I make lasagna today? He likes lasagna. That might work. Should I buy her roses? Maybe that'll work. And that's what you're thinking about. Right? If we all have this experience, we're someplace, we're going through life, but we're fully absorbed in something that's capturing our emotions. Or you just got a new computer, and you're like, oh, can't wait till I can leave class and go home. Driving a new car. So this is the natural way in which we enter into samadhi. We all do it frequently. So instead of absorbing our mind in all these other people, things, whatever, we simply switch the object of our absorption to Krishna. Again, there's aspects of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga that are part of Bhakti. But the main way that we achieve samadhi is by moving our emotional investment to the personality of God. In fact, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that by doing this abhyas yoga, practice yoga, what we're practicing is developing icha, or developing desire. And then what is the samadhi that we achieve in bhakti yoga? We achieve an absorption in the person, the supreme person, who's full of activities, who has a delightful form, who has so many associates. And that is much more satisfying than just becoming absorbed in the universe, or just becoming absorbed in the ever-present white light, or even just become absorbed in the soul of the universe as the supreme friend and witness. Because in Bhagavan Krishna, in the person Krishna, is everything in a perfect form that we are desiring in this world. And I have read accounts of people who take just samadhi of the light and the oneness, and who come back to materialistic consciousness because they so much want the excitement of relationships and emotions. This kind of absorption in samadhi was shown, to those who are familiar, in the story when Krishna was fighting evil serpent Kaliya, who had polluted all of the lake there in Vrindavan. And the residents of Vrindavan were so absorbed in Krishna because they had invested everything. We are absorbed in wherever we're invested. If If we think about the things that capture us, we're invested in them. Our relationships, our job, our education, our home, we feel that our life, our identity, our sense of self, our sense of happiness depends on them. And when we feel rightly that our life, our happiness, our sense of identity depends on Krishna, because that's really where it depends. And then it's easy to enter into this. But how beautiful that we can do that by taking what we're already absorbed in, and as I mentioned, just moving it 1 millimeter. Because Krishna says, I am the heat and fire, I am the flower of the spring, I am the ability in human beings, of purifiers, I am the wind, I am the light of the sun, I am the light of the moon, I am the fragrance of the earth. So let's try to meditate on some of this. I am the heat and fire. So right now there's some warmth in here. Thankfully not as much as last week. But there's some warmth in the room, otherwise we would all die, right? And our bodies are also generating heat. I think it's 80%, our doctor friend can correct me, but I think it's 80% of what we digest goes to our temperature for us warm-blooded creatures. And so our bodies, that's why cold-blooded creatures don't need to eat a lot. Like there are snakes that eat once every year, year and a half, because they don't have to generate heat. So our bodies are generating heat. There's heat in the air. Can we become aware of this for a moment? Can we become aware that your body is generating heat and that the air has warmth? So Krishna says, I'm this heat. So how is Krishna this heat? So warmth very much indicates life. It's one of the way you tell whether or not someone's alive or not, whether or not they're warm. Krishna is the supreme life. He says, I'm the life of all that lives. Warmth also very much indicates love, isn't it? Yes? We see the opposite, warm embrace, or they give you the cold shoulder. So if we become aware of the warmth in our environment, there's got to be warmth always in our environment, or we would immediately die. There's got to be warmth always in our body. It's something we can become aware of in a moment. And we can feel Krishna is that warmth. He is that life. He is that love. And the fragrance of the earth. So how is it that the things we eat all have different tastes? Isn't that fascinating? A tomato, a pepper, an eggplant, they're all in the same family, but they taste very different. And there's so many varieties of tomatoes. First time I went to Trinidad, they greeted me at the airport and they said, we brought you a very special gift for your first visit to Trinidad. They had this beautiful box, they opened it up, and wrapped very, very carefully was a red delicious apple. Because you can't grow apples. Need cold weather to grow up. And I said, thank you. She said it was very expensive. Like $5 for this one. I said, thank you. I said, but I was hoping for some mangoes. She said, oh, here the mangoes are rotting on the side of the road. And she said, and what kind of mango would you like? We have 40 different mangoes. And each one tastes a little different, even just like we have so many apples, isn't it? And the envy apple and the Fiji apple and the grannies, they all taste different. Where are we getting these flavors? It's coming from the earth. The plants are using the different minerals from the earth. Or we burn incense. I really like to burn frankincense, real frankincense, like charcoal with resin. So where does that come from? The trees pulling the fragrance from the earth. And we're burning it. This wonderful smell is coming. So every time we smell flowers, every time we eat A lot of eating is smell, everybody knows that. That's Krishna. That's Krishna. In Sanskrit, he's called Akila Rasamrita Murti. He's the form of all tastes. Now, almost every religion sees God as the Supreme Father, and Krishna says, I am the Father, the Grandfather. So we all have a father. Many of us are fathers. Practically every day we see someone who's a father, a human father, an animal father, a bug father. And immediately we can remember Krishna. Whatever love and care and maintenance is given by a father in this world, Krishna's doing that perfectly. If we're blessed, as I was, to have a very close and loving relationship with my father. Just, if I think about my father and then I just multiply that by a billion, trillion, zillion, how much Krishna loves me. A lot of our effort and energy in this world is going into trying to feel worthy of love and trying to feel that we're loved. But a good father, and there are bad fathers, but a good father loves the children, whether the children are worthy or not, isn't it? Good father just loves the children because they're the children. What to speak of how Krishna loves us. We're unlimitedly loved by Krishna. We don't need to put so much energy into trying to get everyone to love us, into trying to feel that we're loved and worthy. We're already loved and worthy, unlimitedly. And whenever, we act as a father or think of our father or deal with fathers, we can immediately remember Krishna. Then Krishna says that syllable is Om. So those of us in some yoga system, we're frequently saying Om, like in the Hare Krishna movement. Our we're saying so many times a day. Right? Before studying the scripture, we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're saying so many mantras with Om. And this Om, it's made of the sounds Jiva Goswami explains, is Krishna, the Supreme Lord, as masculine. He explains, and Prabhupada writes about this in Madhya, can't remember where. I think it's in Madhya. Can't remember where, sorry. That U is the Supreme Feminine, and is all of us, the living entities. And then not only is Krishna there in Om, but Krishna says, I am the sound in ether. Can we become aware of any sounds? So we have a very quietly ringing bell. We must be touching the bell part of the bell so it doesn't clang very much. And we have motors. A little bit of a car. There's one class where Prabhupada says if you don't want to chant Hare Krishna, you can meditate on how Krishna is a sound in ether. All of the sounds that travel through space. So Prabhupada writes in Krishna book in the Rasalila chapter that the whole world is full of Krishna's singing. He says all sounds are actually spiritual, but it's our consciousness that makes them appear material. The way I like to meditate on that is I like to think about the sounds I hear in this world as reminding me of the instruments used when the Lord is dancing with his friends. So, maybe like a drone instrument, like a tambura. Some percussion instruments, flute instruments. And many times in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he's the seed. So all of us eat seeds, yes? If we eat wheat, we eat rice, corn, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds. Seeds provide the staple food for the vast majority of the people on the earth because the nutrition of the plant is concentrated in the reproductive parts. Krishna says, I am that seed. How it's the concentration of nutrition. But Krishna's also other seeds, like the seeds of ideas, the seeds of projects. He says also, I am the beginning, the middle, and the end. So whenever we're eating seeds, this is Krishna. We're seeing something growing. He says these righteous sexual behavior. When we see happily married couples, when we see people raising children, we can think, oh, there's Krishna. There's Krishna. Krishna says, I am death and immortality. Everyone has to surrender to God in the form of death. And we see that all death in this world is the springboard for new life. The rotting tree fertilizes the soil. From all death, in the end, and death is not just the physical death of the body, but the death of a relationship, the death of a project, the death of a building, the death of an idea, the death of a hope. That's so Krishna, because it gives rise to a new beginning. And there in immortality, our sense of, right? Our own sense of immortality. And Krishna says he's the healing herb. Now that's, some people say, well, Krishna's not pharmaceuticals, only herbs. But any kind of, even pharmaceuticals are all derived ultimately from nature, aren't they? Even if you have a chemist in the lab moving the little atoms and molecules around. I just read about the whole history of the sulfur drugs. But even that's all Krishna. Anything that has the ability to heal us, isn't that amazing? It's incredible, right? We can be really, really sick and just take one dose of some medicine and you feel so much better. That ability to heal. And think of all the different kinds of healing herbs and what they're all good for. And like the fragrance of the earth, the herbs are all growing out of the same soil with the same light and the same water. And yet they have different tastes and different fragrances and different abilities. And even one slight difference in the variety of a plant will have a different healing effect. And Krishna says that he is the yajna, which Prabhupada usually translates as sacrifice. This means the ceremonies we do to connect to the Lord. You know, there's ways that you can connect with me, like I can give you my email address and my WhatsApp number, right? My physical address, all different ways that you can connect with me. So these yajnas are ways we can connect with the Lord. But the yajnas are also the Lord himself. The ways of connecting with him are also him, because the ways of connecting with him indicate his desire, and his desire is the same. Like if you want to say, Urmila, how can I connect with you? And I might say, well, this is the way I'd like you to connect with me, right? Like there are people who every day send me videos and photos and links of something. I don't know if you have people like that. And I say, if you want to do that, would you do that on Messenger? Where I can ignore you. And if you want to do some, urgent business, let's do it on WhatsApp. And if you want something I need to save with documents and that, let's do it on email. So that's indicative of my desire of how I want you to connect with me, right? Does that make sense? So Krishna indicates, I'd like you to connect with me this way. There's this kind of ceremony. There's this kind of worship. But his desire is him. And then he says he's the supreme friend. That feeling of friendship we get. Hopefully all of us have at least one friend, or we've had one friend in our life. And again, take that like the meditation on the Father and expand it billions and billions of times, that feeling of friendship. Someone who gets us. That's Krishna. Then of all the different kinds of ceremonies for connection, Krishna says, I am the chanting of the holy name in japa. And why he's all ways of connecting with him, but why particularly that one? Because that one doesn't require any kind of paraphernalia. It doesn't require a particular time. Like if I want to call my daughter on the East Coast, I can't call her when it's 9 o'clock here. That's cool. I mean, I could, but she'd be a little fried. Why are you calling me? So I have to connect at a certain time. People who live their whole life in India or China don't get this. because they have one time zone for the whole country. So if you've never left China or you've never left India, the concept that there's other people who are living at a different time seems to be a process. I was wondering why are there people who call me at 1 a.m. from India? And so many of these ceremonies, you have to do them at a certain time. You have to do them in a certain way. And we have stories in the Bhagavad Purana, you just mispronounce a word, and instead of getting a great warrior on your side, you get a great warrior on the enemy side. Comes out of the sacrificial fire. The trust. You just make a little mistake. Like if I'm trying to call you, I get one number wrong, that's not going to work. Right? Oh my God, once I bought an airline ticket and I mistyped one letter of my email. It took me hours to sort that. So a lot of the ceremonies that we have for connecting with the divine, they're very specific, but the holy name is not. You can chant the holy name anywhere, anytime. You can be anyone. Doesn't matter. You can be pious, you can be sinful, you can be clean, you can be dirty, you can be in a holy place, you can be taking a shower. It doesn't matter. You can always call in the name of the Lord, and He's always there all the time. Immediately. It says, the bodies of water, I am the sea. So full of variety, but almost inscrutable. So powerful, yet staying generally within its banks. Of subduers I am time, which wears down everything. Of beasts I am the lion. So there's all these different ways mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that we can access Him through what we're already connecting with in our daily life. We've just touched on very, very few of them today. And as we mentioned, we can always connect with the Lord by chanting His holy name. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you should go to the supermarket and start, banging symbols. That would be it. But you can always chant at least in one's mind. Yes? And in addition to the Hare Krishna mantra, there's so many prayers, there's so many verses that have the name of God that we can meditate on. One time I was in New York City just by myself. I was going for a doctor appointment, and I was just meditating on one song, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. As I was walking through Manhattan, I was having my own little Harinam party in my head. It was really hard to walk down the streets without dancing. So one can always see Krishna consciousness just that way. And most of the time, it's not that hard to have a song going through the background of our head, right? I mean, a lot of us, like I work really well most of the time for most things, playing music in the background. Some things I can, but generally. And I realized, we can have a musical track going as background music in our mind, right? Even while we're thinking about other things. Another way we can always remember Krishna is by meditating on a form of Krishna, a deep form, a picture that we really like. And everybody has a mobile phone. Put some pictures of Krishna on your phone. Put a picture of Krishna on your desk. If we're worshiping the Lord, we have an altar at home or a temple like this we come to, really meditate. What does the Lord look like? And at any moment, just like at any moment, we can bring to mind a picture of one of our loved ones or our friends or maybe one of our enemies. Probably anybody can think of like what Donald Trump looks like. So why can't we think what Krishna looks like? Isn't it? Meditate on what He looks like. And then we can meditate on His qualities. Rupa Goswami says that although the Lord has unlimited qualities, He lists specifically 64. We can think of how when Draupadi's honor was going to be violated, the Lord was so dependable that she just called on Him, "Hey, Govinda," and He came to save her. How He's very dear to His devotees like cricket. How although He's the strongest, like a bolt of lightning, He's so soft that when Yasoda's touching Him, He's like butter. She's afraid that her touch is going to injure Him. And we can meditate on any of these qualities, again, in relationship to what we experience in the world. Right? Like Krishna is very pure. When I'm in a place where there's pure air or pure water, I can think, oh, Krishna is extremely pure, very artistic. If I see some work of art, oh, Krishna is the most artistic, a genius. We know any really smart people. Oh, Krishna is the greatest genius. Right? All famous. Someone tells us about some famous person. Krishna is the most famous. Krishna is very fluent. He's a great linguist. We were talking the other day about someone we know who learns languages in a week. And Krishna already knows all the languages. You see some little squirrel chattering outside your window. Oh, Krishna knows the language of the squirrel. So the various things in life can remind us of Krishna's qualities. We can also meditate on Krishna's pastimes. So Srila Prabhupada states that even one pastime of Krishna that we meditate on can bring us to perfection. I'm sure we have different pastimes that we're attached to. Just like, I'd really like to see the battle between Arjuna and Karna. I don't think I'd like to be in the battle. I don't think I'd like to be a soldier there, but I'd like to watch it. I always wanted to watch that battle. You know how Karna is this unknown brother of Arjuna. Karna knows, but Arjuna doesn't know. And Karna has all these benedictions, right? But then he has these circumstances, these curses also, that his chariot wheel is going to get stuck in the mud, and he's already given away his armor to Indra. He insulted Draupadi. And then Krishna says, kill him while he's fixing his wheel. I'd like to see that. I'd love to see the pastime of Varaha, where Lord Brahma is thinking, what should we do? And then, what's that? And this is, what is that? Can you imagine that? You're trying to figure out what to do with a calamity, and then there's something in your nose, and then it's God. And his airs of the Vedic hymns, and he's talking with the sages by roaring in the universe. And he goes down into the water, he picks up the earth, just quivering, but she's his wife, holding her with so much affection. And the demon's insulting him, and he's pained by the abusive words of the demon, and he nicely says his wife in the ocean, and he attends to this. Love to see that. The pastime of Kurma, where Mandara Mountain is scratching his back. And he's just chill. You know, turtles are really chill, usually, except for snapping turtles. Most turtles are really chill. He's just really chill. And his ornaments are getting polished by the churning of the mountain. Give her polished metal. He's just there in the ocean of milk. Or Mahaprabhu dancing at Rath Yatra, where he's crying in ecstasy like water squirting out of a syringe. And he's expanded in 7 dancing parties, but not everybody can see that. Most of the dancing parties, they think, oh, Mahaprabhu was in my party, he's with me. And then King Pratibhuja, who Lord Chaitanya kept saying, I'm not going to deal with him, he's a materialist. Forget it. And the king, like, he almost just gave everything up in despair that he would ever see the Lord. You ever feel like that? No, it's never going to see me. Why am I going to bother to chant? You're never going to come. So Maharaj Pratibhuja was like that. But then he could see that Mahaprabhu had expanded into 7 parties. Imagine. Jagannath, who's the form of the Lord in separation from Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu, who's the Lord of Radharani in separation from Krishna. The Lord, as in Radha's birth in separation from Krishna, bringing the Lord in separation from Radha back to Vrindavan and dancing, and dancing in the kirtan. How much ecstasy. is happening there with the devotees. I would love to see. And I'd like to see the Kaliya pastime. Really like to see that pastime. I'd like to see Krishna dancing on the hoods of the snake. They're wet snake skin. One time I was in Russia for a big festival, and at the end at night, the devotees did a traditional Indian dance, but they were wearing clothes that had like Christmas tree lights integrated into the clothes. And no joke, they had fireworks coming out of their costumes. They said they could only do this in Russia because they couldn't bring their costumes over a border. Fireworks came out. They had like things on their wrist. Fireworks were coming out, and things on their head. So their costumes were alight as they moved. The different lights would light up, and as they moved, different real fireworks were coming out of their costumes. That was amazing. It was totally amazing. And I thought, wow, Krishna dancing on Kali. Wow. Wet snake hoods breathing fire. 1,000 hoods moving in the water. Krishna's jumping. So I'd like to see this. Like each of us to think about, and if you are already sitting next to somebody, you can share it with me. Usually we have people share. Sorry, maybe you could telepathically do it. What pastime would you like to see? So if you can just think about it, and if you are sitting next to someone, you can share. So we'll just take a minute. What pastime would you like to see? What you can do is you can go into a deep study of that pastime. What does it say in the scripture? What does it say in the commentary? What have different acharyas written about that pastime? And every day meditate on some part of it or some verse of it. So our suggestion is that before you go to bed each night, think about how you're going to meditate on Krishna the next day. Some way in which Krishna is manifested in his energy, some name of Krishna you're going to meditate on, some form of Krishna you particularly like, some qualities of Krishna you particularly like, or some pastimes you particularly like. Now, we have an incredible 7-minute video on this, but we didn't have time to set it up before the class. I could maybe give you a link to it on YouTube, and you can share it later with your congregation. It's a musical piece put together by Mahatma, where he's singing a lot of the ways we meditate on Krishna in the world. And one of my friends in London made a music video. So I think now it's time for Arti. Oh, they open the curtains early? I see. Okay, and we have, someone has said something in the chat. Okay, well, if anyone has any questions or comments or additions, subtractions, chastisements. Anything?
Hi Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, we should do this set up. You have to set it up with the sound system. It takes some doing. Yes. One step away
and recognize that Krishna is already part of that.
Mm.
And then in this last meditation, it was intriguing to hear you speak about all the different aspects of life. It made me realize how, yeah, we really could just take one. When you asked to think about our own time, I was thinking about the Cowherd boys and how there's every day stating them from different demons, but we only get like this snippet.
Mm.
And you think that it's better to just take what we have, or to like request, like, I want to do these customers, but
Well, Goswami says the price is greed, the price is intense desire. And we do find in our consciousness, I was just hearing Prabhupada say this in a class the other morning, where Krishna becomes pleased with us and he reveals himself. And we get spiritual television. How do you think that our acharyas describe things beyond what's in the Shastra? Like Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur will take the Leelas in the Shastra and he'll expand on them in his commentaries, yes? Or if you think in Vrindavan Champu, Gopal Champu, these kind of works. Because they're your experience. So that's the idea that we come to the point where we're experiencing them. And how that happens is we meditate on what we know. With the best, using our mind. Which means there's some level of imagination. Prabhupada uses the word imagine. He says imagine. And Jiva Goswami says that the Lord enters our consciousness through the path of our meditation. Sometimes devotees are hesitant to make an effort with the mind. They think, I'm just going to think about mundane things and one day Krishna is just going to pop into my consciousness. It doesn't really work. The idea is Manmana Bhagavad Bhakto. We make an effort. And we make an effort to use the mind to think about Krishna as best we can with what we've heard in the scriptures, with what we've heard from the acharyas, knowing that we are using some imagination, knowing that the way that we imagine in our mind is not going to be accurate. We know that, but it's all we got. Think about if some great art master visits an elementary school and sees the children trying to draw to the best of their ability and sees someone who really has a love for art and some talent and says, here, let me show you. So it's like our effort is really what brings us to perfection, but our effort attracts the mercy and the love of Krishna who says, here, let me show you. It's like this. And then it's explained in Madhurya Kadambini at the stage of prema, the stage of love of God, where the Lord actually appears not just as television in the heart, which happens at Bhava, but appears before us face to face. Then the devotee says, oh, how did I ever compare your feet to lotus flowers? How offensive was it? Whatever picture I had in my mind, whatever I had within my understanding of this world, doesn't come anywhere close to the reality of what you are. But by using our mind in this meditation, Krishna says, oh, you're thinking of me? You want to know me? Okay, are we starting the arati now? Yes? That's it. Should I end now? Okay. You'll start. So let's have Arti Kirtan. Thank you very much. Thank you for your hospitality here in Portland. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. की जय। प्रेम से हो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर गौर भक्त की जय। जय श्री हरे कृष्ण गोकुल की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। तुलसीधाम की जय। हरि माई पूर्ण की जय। जगन्नाथ धाम की जय। रंगदेव की जय। देव की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। संदेश की जय। Lord President, all glorious to the assemblies of witnesses, all glorious to the assemblies of witnesses, all glorious to the assemblies of witnesses, all glorious to Shri Guru Mother, all glorious to Shri Guru. Namaste Narasingaya.
So thank you all for joining today. So as you know, we've been doing social distancing, where only 5 families can come in and only for 10-15 minutes at a time, that's why we blocks are here. Oregon in June 30th, remove all the social distancing, mask mandates. So you get rid of the social distancing, but still maintain mask and hand sanitization. Overall safety, across the country. Today, it's wonderful. It's not great. Disease, wonderful lecture. The most favorite Christian aspect of busyness in our life. So that was really wonderful. That trip then often to the food diary. For Saturday, we took a look. We'll have that ready to go and we sanitize our hand. That's it. So I want to hear that we can start with the Prodigy engaged us in wonderful exercises yesterday. Writing our obituary by our friend versus Krishna and those sorts of things. This morning we had an amazing discussion on the book that Prodigy is working on with another colleague. National, amazing insights. Today, that's how to think of Krishna. It's very important to see this slides. I mentioned the pastime sheet that they wanted to see. Pastime efficiency. So that anybody else have past this kind of I don't want to make this talking, but anybody else have things, pastimes, we know Krishna that activities or one Krishna's associates that one wants to be able to actually see all of them. That would be fantastic. Great. Anyone else? Lucy? Sorry. Would you jumping across the ocean? Why would you want to swim? Anything else? Or you remember? Sorry. Yeah. Just an over the past time. All of them. All of them. Past time. Really attracted to want to see. Krishna, to be very simple. Krishna, after a very long time apart, Brahma meets with Krishna for a long time. Krishna has given such care, so much love and exchange between the two that haven't seen each other. It's just really amazing to see the depth of Krishna's love. That pastime really shows it. And just hearing all these things is also us remember and part of that. Marco, you.
The visual represent Krishna is the universal form where Arjuna sees everything inside Krishna or at the same time and his four-armed form.
So people that want to.
Hare Krishna. I would like to see Lady Krishna with the right turn about that.
Disease one thing. One of the other ones.
When Krishna goes to Hastinapur and in that Rajsabha he says he was very much to see a guitar. I think of Krishna's having lunch with his Gopals and Gopis and this morning I was going to Facebook of Mataji's Facebook and there was a spiritual joke that is going to share. Krishna was asking, what did you have for lunch today? No, Vishnu was asking Krishna, what did you have for lunch? Then Krishna said, for rice and then all variety. And then Krishna is asking, what did you have for lunch today? Then Vishnu said, lots of jam cheese. That's a chips, racks of chips. That's the meditation.
I want to see the videos of Krishna and last time when he appeared
It would be nice to see when Krishna and Balaram jumped off a very high mountain and landed safely. How many miles? But a very high mountain and landed safely. No difference.
Willingness or we said Krishna eating with cows and playing with foods.
One of the pastime this week, we were recently reading the pastime of Krishna instructing a Guruji to go check on the welfare of the Pandavas. This tells us that Krishna never forgets it.
So before feeling getting classes, Krishna, the outward translates to the cows and playing in the forest. Like Dara keeps asking for the opportunity to very safe.
What the needs and how we see
Sometimes when Krishna is turn on the demon.
yes.
You know, it's like there are always Krishna phenomenon. I would love to see a first time Krishna's pastime very well. Krishna is speaking of it. And I have few of the university ones and
There are so many pastimes.
of Lord Krishna, and I would like to see, right now I'm thinking about how Krishna makes his own vow and he glorifies devotees. And we should become going to pick up the being and he makes his own vow to glorify devotees. It's all about the aspect.
There was just reading about this ago. Inspired so nicely. Arjuna was bragging onto Krishna's lotus feet that it's a dust, they brag across amazing what love Krishna had in our Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing your pastimes. We're attracted to. Thank you very much. So, why don't you demonstrate? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I was thinking about Krishna was a cowherd boy, and there was this little Mandari who wanted so badly to go and see, and the parents were not appropriate, but Krishna knew, and so he made some habit and made his cap running into her home and running past her. And so in he comes and says, "Oh, I'm just getting my cow," and I was running, "Oh, probably I missed it, and here the little Mandari, and see her face and Krishna still all over his eyes.
When Mataji was chanting Rishika Devi prayers, I was thinking, I would like to see Rishika Devi's whitish hair. And the earth getting pushed down, and then subsequently Rishika Devi just hurrying while he's just holding cross. Chanted so nicely. Remember that. So, Mataji's demonstrated how Srila Prabhupada has given so many pastimes in the chariots in these books, and we can just partake in that on a regular basis, and that's essentially. So what we'll do is we'll have Kirtan up until 2:30. I think the focus was to hear Krishna Katha and how to remember Krishna and channels over here. So we can do that. There's no formal schedule. It's always a formal chant. We have until 2:30, and then 1:30 we'll have Prasad to go. I think we'll probably do it from either from the other side maybe or this side. I don't know. So from now on, barring changes in the Oregon COVID situation, we'll start program at 11 a.m. We're here from lecture, just like usual.